Alrighty, indie campers, we're back. More Ludum Dare today. I think it's Friday today. And we are going to start out this adventure, well, start and end this episode's adventures with some procedurally generated goodness. And the first game up on our docket is the Murderdome by Ryan Nielson. Folks from across the wastelands have come to witness the Fool's Paradise. That is, a group of crazy marauders jumping into arena trying to win fame and fortune, mostly blowing each other's heads off. And we've found ourselves in the middle of that. We're some sort of like macho, buff, waste wander, madman like Mad Max in the Thunderdome, and we've got to kill all of these crazy bandits and murderers and serial killers and crazy old men in like leotards with knives, and let's just jump in here and get started, shall we? It's Murderdome. Here we come to shoot the day. I'm Leroy in my magic backpack. So, yeah, this is the whole kit and caboodle. We just run in here to these ever more daunting arenas full of sociopathic old men with knives and marauders and the most stylish of retro eyewear, and we just gotta duke it out without getting murdered. And these old men, they are just after my jibs. They will kill me, and if I step on these fires, that will also murder my face. So, I like it. You know, it seems very fast-paced and arcadey, and initially I thought this would really start to wear on me really quick, but these crazy different procedurally generated orientations of madmen and serial killers and sociopaths with knives keeps me on my toes, keeps me limber and suave and all that. And if I take too much time about it, if I try to be all sneaky and tactical, that countdown timer you might have noticed at the top there will count down to 0, and then we all explode. The whole thing. So good news, if Larry doesn't win, everybody's coming with him. And there really is no end in sight. The Wasteland has got an abundance of sociopaths this year. It was a good season to be a crazy killer. And, I'm already dead. And so there's a lot of people. And I gotta say, it's a well-refined package. It's got good refinement in the pixel art. I can tell the individual types of characters apart. Like, you got those sort of Tron-ish guys with the purple single-eye visor like Cyclops. And you got the janky old men with their little pixely knives running after me. And then you've got, of course, you got these guys with the 3D anaglyph eyeglasses, and I think those guys might not actually be sociopathic killers. You know, have you ever left 3D eyeglasses on? I'd be a little bit spicy too if I left those on. You get a headache. Some of these other serial killers crack a joke about you in the back room when you talk about where you went to banditry school. Maybe you just took a seminar and you just have like a certificate of banditry, so you don't actually have like a 4-year bandits degree. I mean, these are some really nasty guys. They'll poke fun at you, that's for sure. But no, I can tell them apart. There's great music, there's great sounds, there's like each one of these little dudes as they rotate around the screen. You can see that there's a sprite for every angle for like their guns and their bodies and stuff. These little fires. All of that is right on par. The only thing I kind of wish is if there was perhaps a little bit more variance in the terrain. You know, maybe there's some like spike pits, or there's some traps or some drawbridges or crazy post-apocalyptic Cylon war murder machines. Maybe there's a little midget stabby man. I don't know, I'm just thinking of like Borderlands-style gameplay meets Nuclear Throne, which is what this game really plays in a lot of ways. It's just without the secondary abilities from the different classes. And I'm just thinking about different sort of combinations from those type genre games that might spice up this game if Mr. Nielson was interested in doing any tweaks or refinement in the future. I could definitely see a broad variety of enemies, you know? Nothing says wasteland and post-apocalyptic nightmare quite like bird mutants and slime monsters and that guy George, who's got a face in his belly that can talk and it can sing Camp Town Races. That always freaked me out about, what was that in? Was that Total Recall, the original, with Schwarzenegger? That was good stuff. But yeah, mutants, crazy zombies, crazy technology, crazy landscapes that you could end up going through would be perfect. Does the game, I suppose, need a goal? Do I need an eventual goal that I can reach aside from simply getting further and further along in the levels and having a greater and greater challenge where eventually even the most steadfast of gamer would end up just a little bit out of sorts? I think I like that. I think I do like occasionally the type of game that doesn't have an end goal. However, I would like some level progression. Doesn't have to be, you know, exact level progression or linear level progression, but I wouldn't mind, like, this arena being multiple biome, per se. You know, like, maybe there's a swamp arena, and you got, like, a crazy underground arena with, like, I don't know, the ruins of some lost scientist laboratory. There's all sorts of stuff. Although I do have a feeling that your way of getting around the question of variable terrain has been to add these maddening campfires, where if you step over them, you douse the campfire. Here, let me show you once I murder all these guys. You douse the campfire, but you take a blip, a piece of damage in your health bar, so as to make it so you can't just run the same direction every time you enter a new level. And then, of course, there's the ever-impending doom. This place is rigged to blow. There is certainly no escape. I don't know, it's a good combo. Got all sorts of options. More enemies. Ooh, I know just what the doctor didn't order, because who would order a big piping hot nuclear radiation shotgun? But you could totally give this crazy waste wanderer backpacker man different power-ups that you could get. Like, maybe right now, I'm on level 3, I've gone far enough to unlock the first special character in the game, and after I murder him, if I survive, he drops a power-up or a weapon alternative or an upgrade of some kind that turns this shotgun into some sort of crazy bouncing saw blade shotgun, or maybe it shoots grenades. You know, all those crazy classic sort of behaviors and upgrades and alternate weapons that you would expect to see in, like, a crazy Japanese starfighter shooter with, like, spaceships and lasers, like Raiden X, or oh, I don't know. There's all sorts of them. They were a dime a dozen. And much like JonTron said, I bet you could find a kumquat shooting parsley snips and oregano in space, fighting super mutants and aliens and pig monsters. That's just how crazy those games can be, and you know what? It's still fun. Other than that, you know, as it is right now, strong graphics, it's got some strong sounds and music, it's really fun and arcadey, and, you know, this is the way that all the little critters explode, and I can tell them apart, and all that stuff. It's really satisfying to murder them, so very nice job, Ryan. Okie dokie, next up, we've got Puddle Maker by MrHill. And Puddle Maker, it's all about a young boy named Sunny, who's all about the summertime, and he wants to return it to summertime. That's just his goal, and so he runs around in this crazy, snowy environment, avoiding possessed snowmen and gathering bits of sunshine, and bring it back to cap points or turn-in points, and killing all the snowmen and prolonging summer just a little bit longer. And of course, well, that would just be too simple, Larry. This seems far too easy for you. Well, you're not wrong, Side Voice. You really aren't. To make sure it stays continuously maddening, the more sunshine you collect, and the more snowmen you murder, oh, here we go, the different sorts of enemies begin to spawn. Yes. And they are all pretty much concerned with making me dead. And yeah, you get new snowmen, you get snow turrets that look like something out of Portal. Like the Aperture Science team came up with a snow cone making turret that murders children instead of giving them fun summertime adventure. I mean, it's not what I would have gone through for like scientific achievement, but hey, to each their own, right? And all we do is we just try to last as long as we can, killing as many snowmen as we can, and prolonging summertime as long as possible. And there's one of those evil turrets, and we're already starting to get overwhelmed here. But no, I like it. It's very fun, it's very cartoonish, and if I had to give it like a vibe or relate it to something, oh, we died. And we get like a little Doctor Who reference there at the end. If you've ever seen the library episode, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, I can definitely relate this game most notably and directly to the show Ed, Edd and Eddy. I don't know if you ever saw that, but Ed, Edd and Eddy is a show about three friends who are constantly trying to shamboozle everybody else in the neighborhood out of their quarters via some half-cocked scheme or business opportunity or ride or attraction or sideshow in order to buy jawbreakers. Now, I'm not entirely sure who told them that jawbreakers were the bee's knees. I certainly didn't, and I was never the biggest fan of jawbreakers, though I did like that one candy that you could suck on for a while that would change color. You know, it had like the inner layers upon layers, and it would turn your tongue like green and then purple and then, I don't know, red, and then it just looked like you just ate too much of everything else in the universe and it was just like a weird brown color. Oh, and if you wait too long, the terrain begins to increasingly turn white and evil and snowy, and it looks like, even without unlocking the more dangerous enemies, you get them more powerful if you wait too long to cap the sunshine. Yeah, so this reminds me of Ed, Edd and Eddy, because Ed, Edd and Eddy was just like, it was a show all about a bunch of friends trying to prolong summer, and eventually they even did like a change of venue where they all ended up going to school. And at the end of the first sort of segment of the show, when it sort of changed over to like middle school and high school life, they actually tried to create a machine that would fool all the other kids into thinking it was still summertime, so that they would have increased time left in order to shamboozle them out of additional money. But yeah, it's charming. It's got a good vibe. It's oddly fun running around as this kid and getting your insides eaten and turned into shadow food. It's great. I like it. It's really charming. It's just got this nice childhood vibe to it. And looking at this, even though it doesn't play like Nuclear Throne, there was just something about the direct, full-on, like, vertical perspective of all of the terrain that really made me think about the levels in Nuclear Throne. Now, this is definitely not Nuclear Throne. I'm not shooting alien monsters trying to become the king of the wastelands. But like, something about the simple nature of the art style, it's good. I like it. It's simple. It doesn't try to overdo itself. So, what would I see this game turning into? I don't know. Maybe it's like an adventure of childhood through the seasons, you know? Each season you just enjoy and you try to have the most fun in it that you can, while different sort of scary aspects of your childhood come and try to murder you. Is that how I would have sort of taken snowmen? No, but there are people who are afraid of things like snowmen. There are also people who are afraid of things as mundane as clowns. Like, I've never felt that clowns was scary, but hey. Yeah, you could go through autumn, you could go through spring. April showers bring May flowers and some weird type of springtime events. But no, this is cool. It's got a progression. It's got a crazy bunch of stuff that could happen, and I still love this Doctor Who reference. I hope that's a Doctor Who reference here at the end, where the Vashta Nerada eventually capture me in the form of snow time fun buddies that want to eat me. You know, funny enough, what I originally thought this game was there's a yellow face over this kid's head, and you're running around with collecting these little pieces of sunshine. But I thought the little pieces of sunshine were something else that was yellow. Namely, I thought they were little puddles of piddle. I thought the whole goal of this was you had to walk up and pee on snowmen to kill them and to prolong summertime via sacrificing a boatload of snowmen. That's certainly not what this is, and clearly Larry has a dirty mind, but hey, that's initially what I thought it was. So, wasn't saying it's like a pleasant or unpleasant surprise that it's not, it's just that's what I was expecting. And it also looks like, as you go through here and you collect stuff, this little smiley face or frowny face or unhappy face above your head represents your health bar. You get 3 hits, and then you're dead. Unless you bring back summertime, and then you get healed. Back to happy fun time summer mode. Yeah, it's cool. And this is one of those games where there's only really one set of controls that you need to worry about, and that is the direction that you're running. So, if you really wanted to, you could probably convert this pretty simplistically into a mobile game. Because you only have to worry about going up, down, left, right, maybe swizzle around in diagonals. Yeah, I could totally see this becoming like the next great iPhone game. And if you do want to try this out, like, this is just simple enough of a concept and fun enough with that little Meralda reference there, you could probably get quite a few people downloading this on the phones. No, it's good. I like it. Very nice job, Mr. Hill. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Alrighty, last but certainly not least, we've got Merelda by Peach Pie Productions. And, well, it looks a little Kokiri-esque from, the Zelda series, The Legend of Zelda. And that nice chap Link, the Defender of Time. It says to be inspired by Castlevania, Mario, and The Legend of Zelda. And I can certainly feel that. And Meralda is a game all about procedurally generated dungeon crawlery goodness, where each adventure is wholly different than the last. Full of gremlins and evil skulls and random dungeons that kind of look like a mausoleum. And I can't help but think that we're a part of the mausoleum cleaning patrol, because these are all full of, like, evil little gremlins. They poo everywhere, and they make it a big mess, and it's disrespectful to the dead, and I gotta come in here and clean them out, and then for my payment, I'm just gonna go grave robbing in all these lovely chests. And then we can randomly find some differently spawned shops, item shops, that we can get sword upgrades, and go on our endless merry adventure. Stabbing Skullfig-Newtons and Skeletos. Yep, there's Skeleto, and his pal Frank, and James, and Ted. And let's check out this shop. What have you got for me, shoppy man, with your suave pompadour? We have a regular sword that does 2 damage. My damage is currently 3. We have a wind blade for 100 Kushmakers, which has 6 damage. I'd like that. Or we have a fire sword that costs 200, and we can't afford any of these good things. How bothersome. But no, this is cool. And if you remember, the theme of this game jam is an entire game on one screen, and just the way that they handle, like, falling around in the terrain, the Peach Pie Productions crew really gives an interesting vibe to that whole thing. It's pretty sweet. Now, there are a few things that I feel I'm missing from this lovely game. Most notably, a good dungeon crawlery game at some point has some puzzles, but puzzles can be tricky in procedurally generated games. And the other thing that we could probably get a hold of somewhere in this mess is, can I get a heart from you, Skullfig-Newton? Sir? Nope, no heart. Is some items, and how these items and puzzles fit together is really where you get into the bones and grit of a delectable dungeon crawler. And puzzles are tricky in dungeon crawlers for a very specific reason, and that is a good puzzle, like I said during the procedurally generated game jam, a good puzzle is well thought out and unique to the environment and to the situation that you would be in at that phase of the game. Which is a nice way of saying it's really hard to fine-tune randomly spawned puzzles that feel meaningful and challenging. And then this will fall into and sort of swish into my little spiel about items. Crazy spells and stuff. But first, let's visit the shop and see if we can't get a cool new sword, now that I'm slightly richer. Lame sword, expensive sword, windblade. Give me some of that. As we fall through a reality into the next continuous screen. So one of the things that I thought about is a lot of dungeon crawlers... Oh, that's an evil load of spikes. Okay. Guess I'll just have to take that extra damage. A lot of games handle their challenges and their puzzles by offering you the usage of a brand new item that's only available in that part of the game, like a hookshot or a fire arrow or Tony Danza's crazy bear claws. I'm pretty sure Tony Danza has crazy bear claws. I mean, in this country, we have the right to bear arms. Like, you can own a pair of lush, furry bear arms in your home. Pretty sure he has that, but like, you could get an item, and then that unlocks a particular type of puzzle that could be randomly generated, and maybe some of these mausoleums that I fight goblins in, there could be like a positional. I just got a good sword too, you spicy goblins. There could be a positional type puzzle where I have to move some of those boulders around onto pressure plates. And then, so maybe I get, like, that wind blade. There's a good starting point. I just bought a wind blade before I immediately got killed right after. And that could potentially allow me to do some weird magical jumps. I have to, like, gather up wind power from magic sconces about the dungeon in order to complete a puzzle. And then I have to kind of complete it in phases, or else I run out of wind magic. You know, stuff like that. That could dynamically unlock as the items you need to complete them become available, and then you could mix and match some of the characteristics between those items that are available in the game to create unknown and sometimes maddening puzzles in each of the different dungeons. We don't necessarily have a story, yet. Oh, and I just spawned and died. That's another tricky thing. Dying before you even spawn properly in the world. So currently this is an endless adventure. You just run around stabbing stuff, gathering up gold, and eventually you retire as a wealthy, oil baron in the countryside with a whole bunch of weird goblins as your butler, and maybe, like, one of them, like, makes you coffee in the morning, because you like those fancy coffees where the foam is like a picture of a creepy elf, because, you know, it's the holidays. We gotta get in the holiday spirit, everybody. But, I'm sort of debating the notion of putting in some type of story, because, again, stories in a procedurally generated game can be a little bit fiddly. It can be hard to make them that feel meaningful without just having, you know, like, a randomly generated story chunk appears here, a randomly generated story object appears next to this bookshelf. You know, sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense, and I saw that a lot in the procedurally generated horror game called Daylight. It had all the pieces, don't get me wrong, but there was just not a lot of immersion in the game, and then it ended off with a very generic sort of ending to a horror movie, where, oh, you're in an insane asylum, but you're not accidentally there, you're not some weird victim or a prisoner. You're actually the one insane, and something terrible happened when you were a child, and you're just crazy. I don't like that ending to horror movies, at least not very often, because it's just like, Shutter Island 2, halfway through with the rat scene on the cliffside, I was just like, oh, he's really just crazy, isn't he? He's just the crazy one, okay. This is suspicious. And then it was. But yeah, it's hard to make a procedurally generated game that has a really broad flowing story. Nuclear Throne is about the only game that I've played a boatload of recently that kind of had a story, and really the only story with Nuclear Throne is, wouldn't it be handy if one of us, or one of our crazy mutagenic friends, became the king of the wasteland? Boy, we'd save so much money on taxes you wouldn't even understand or know. And these goblins take like 50 hits to kill. This dungeon may murder me. But, you know, random things to spice up the environment, random extra weapons that are temporary, they've only got so many uses, would be cool. But for what it is, it's a fun little hack-and-slash game full of weird little goblins and zombie skull heads and dungeons, and it looks like it's pretty fun. I liked it. I mean, it gets kind of samey after a while, I won't lie, but you throw in some variance in environment and some more items and some puzzles and stuff, maybe a boss or two that can randomly spawn on you, and you've got yourself one heck of a roguelike, I tell you what. You could put this on the Steams and win all the bacon. Very nice job, Peach Pie Productions. Alrighty guys, that's it for this showcaseification. I've been your host, Larry the Chupacabra. Until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep on sharing stuff and checking stuff out and rating stuff. There's still like 10, 12 days left to vote on stuff. And I'll catch you next time. Have an awesome weekend, everybody, and toodaloo.